So if there's an opportunity there to get your hands on it, you may as well.
That's exactly it. The land councils are here to try and acquire what land we can get back within our boundaries. Aboriginal land claims are not based on cultural significance. That's not the actual factor. It's about, is it able to be claimed? Is it in the name of the Crown?
Well, that sounds like a land grab.
And the prospect of a land grab is what people are concerned about. Most of us like being able to enjoy ourselves on public land. It's great to be able to enjoy ourselves in a park next to a beach on land that is in the public domain. It's an inherently egalitarian concept. The land is paid for and maintained with our council rates and our taxes, and it's available to everyone. However, that time might be coming to an end, at least if the Metropolitan Land Council gets its way. The Metropolitan Land Council has lodged various native title-related claims over thousands of areas of public parklands, areas that are in public use and are maintained by our taxes and our rates and have been for decades. There are many thousand such claims. They're often in prime real estate, next to beaches and next to the water, often abutting residential property. The great fear is that this public land that heretofore has been accessible to everyone will be rendered inaccessible and potentially redeveloped. Now, even if these native title claims fail, it still costs a lot of money to defend them and to go to court and to defeat the claims, even when the land is in public use. The other fear as well is that if that land, for example, has lapsed into disuse, albeit temporarily, the land might subsequently re-enter use, and if council then needs to go out and acquire yet more land, it adds on to costs. It stops the council from being able to pause the usage of land, because if they pause the usage, then native title claims might be lodged, and this creates inefficiencies and additional costs, which ultimately cost us money in our taxes and our council rates. The latest flashpoint has been in Mosman, where the Metropolitan Land Council has lodged claims over various parcels of land next to Balmoral Beach, which also abut residential property. The Metropolitan Land Council CEO outlined his whole process in an interview he gave with Ben Fordham at 3AW.
Well, there was a controversial meeting last night at Mosman Council, and the council voted against an Aboriginal land rights claim. It turns out the claim was made back in 2009, but Mosman Council say they only found out about it a month ago. The site in question is just across the road from Balmoral Beach. Real estate experts have valued the 2,500 square metres at about $100 million. How many land claims does your organisation have at the moment, the local Metropolitan Aboriginal Land Council?
Yeah, so we're in excess of about 2,500, closer to 3. That's undetermined claims, total claims.
2,500 to 3,000?
Yes.
That's just your group?
Yes.
What about across all groups?
So across the state, I know that the number officially was 38,000 June last year, and I believe that when we discussed it just recently at a gathering, it's brokered to near 40,000 claims across New South Wales, are undetermined, have not been assessed and sit in files.
There are 40,000 Aboriginal land claims at the moment in New South Wales.
Mosman Council, of course, has resisted the claim. The claim was lodged all the way back in 2009. However, the council asserts they only became aware of it a few weeks ago when the claim entered the assessment phase, and they were asked for a response. The council unanimously voted to resist the claim.
As you quite rightly said, we found out just recently that there was a claim lodged in 2009. Now, we didn't become aware of it till we were asked by Crown Lands to put in a reason why these matters shouldn't be granted. I personally find the whole thing quite astounding, but it gets even more dangerous, this act. According to the Metropolitan Land Council this morning on another station, there's 3,000 claims in the metro area of Crown Lands. Now, where are most of the Crown Lands along the coastline? Opposite the beaches, our parks and reserves. We were only notified a month ago that we had a month to put in a submission. Originally, we were asked to keep it confidential, but you can't keep these matters confidential because, I mean, you're affecting millions of people who utilise the beach and the neighbours,
Sure.
and our expenditure alone on maintaining that site for the last 100 years. You know, it should come to council, and this should be in the public domain.
Whether Mosman Council succeeds remains to be determined. They have nevertheless decried the claim as astonishing. Ironically enough, however, the Mosman Council has backed the yes side in the voice referendum, which seems a little bit odd because the voice referendum would seemingly amplify these land claims, potentially by giving rise to a treaty which then could further facilitate more claims over public land. The major fear, of course, is that if these land claims get up, then land that people have paid for and maintained with their taxes and their rates could be seized. Land that had been supported by council rates and had been freely available to the public in the public domain will no longer be such. This would then send a clear message to the council to develop and sell off all of this land before it becomes subject to these claims. It also creates a significant fear within the population that all of these public areas that they had been enjoying will perhaps just be removed. It also bakes in significant inefficiency. As I indicated before, many of these claims arise where the council land has lapsed into disuse. If land is still being used, then the native title claims will ultimately fail. But if the land is currently not used, the native title claim might succeed. And this means the council needs to keep using that land even if it isn't really that necessary, lest the land be taken away via native title. And the reason this is important is that council sometimes needs to pause use of land. They need to pause the usage while they seek other portions of land or seek other things to do with it. And the council needs to have the option to reinstate the usage. The council needs to have that land in reserve for future use. If the council doesn't have that land in reserve, they're going to need to go out and lease more land or buy more land in the future, thereby adding cost. The council needs to be able to have backup contingencies. They need to be able to put land into furlough. They need to be able to pause usage just for future needs. And these native title claims seem to be undermining some of that forward thinking. The concern as well is this whole situation could actually become much worse with the voice. Now, the voice and its details are still yet to be determined. However, the voice derives from the Uluru Statement from the Heart, and the Uluru Statement calls for a makarata, which is another word for a treaty. And from the background documents, that treaty would seemingly involve quote-unquote reparations or a financial settlement, possibly in the form of paying the rent, so to speak, or coming in the form of a proportion of GDP. There is, of course, therefore, a risk that any such treaty would amplify claims over land. Now, this isn't guaranteed. After all, a treaty might not occur. A treaty might not involve additional claims over land. But a treaty could very well occur. It seems to be the end goal behind the voice, and claims over land could easily be amplified. The probability of such increases if the treaty and the voice get off the ground. By contrast, the probability is lower without the voice and without a treaty. And this creates potentially another reason to vote against the voice at the upcoming referendum. Ironically, however, as I have indicated, Mosman Council actually supports the voice, something that might ultimately come back to bite them. Now, it is true that there could be many valid and meritorious native title claims. However, that is not an argument for enabling and encouraging cynical or opportunistic ones, potentially as is the case with the ones against Mosman Council here. Furthermore, it's also true that these claims against Mosman Council and the many other thousands of metropolitan native title claims are existing without the voice. However, that's a little bit beside the point when it comes to the voice referendum. The mere fact that there are claims now doesn't tell us anything about what the voice will do in the future. There could in fact be many more thousands of claims if the voice were to ultimately get up. And that's the thing that you need to consider. Could the situation be exacerbated or amplified if the voice occurs? Not is the situation bad now, but could the situation actually get worse? And in any case, that's an overview about the current situation with metropolitan native title claims. If you've got any thoughts about this, well, let me know that in the comments below. But otherwise, don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I see you next time as well.